Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Southern Greg Thompson Show, where I get to interview people from the South who are in entertainment. And I am talking to a friend of mine that I met a long time ago in 1979, and she's gone on to do some great things, and she lives in LA. So welcome, Kim Morgan Greene. How are you?
I'm fabulous, Angel. How are you? Hey, everybody.
I'm doing fine. I'm just outside of Orlando. I'm behind Disney World. Tell everybody where you are right now.
I am presently in Woodland Hills, California, which is in LA County. And so I'm at home at the moment in my living room, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about you that I know, and I know there's a lot about you that I don't know, and we'll just talk and have some fun, okay?
All right, darling, let's do it.
All right. Well, I met Kim when she was performing at Carowinds with my brother Michael in a show called Hooray for Hollywood. And I'm going to tell you this. I was so excited because the next year I actually got a poster because I was going to audition, but I found out you actually had to have dancing talent to do that. But there was a picture. There's a picture of you and Mike dancing on that poster. Do you remember that poster?
Oh, I do. I can have my daughter bring it out.
I've got mine too. Now, after that,
right at the bottom.
That's right. That's exactly right.
It was the space number in the gold lame. Yeah.
That's right. I remember
your brother.
Go ahead.
Your brother is my all-time favorite dance partner. Period.
Really? That is so cool.
Yeah.
He tried
I love my Michael.
Well, he loved you too. He really did. Now, when you were at Carowinds in '79, is that when you were the North Carolina Rhododendron Queen?
Yes, because they all used to like to tease me because I was in my Miss North Carolina Rhododendron car, and it was beautifully hand painted down the side of the car. And that's what I drove onto the lot at Carowinds.
No kidding.
So they all used to love it. I did. I love my Miss North Carolina Rhododendron car.
That's great.
Honey,
That's great.
I have gone back. Oh, I went back a few years ago and performed. I took my daughter and performed on stage with her at the pageant.
Did you really?
You know, I did. I took my baby girl and we performed Hot Honey Rag from Chicago together.
No kidding.
Yeah, they were all shocked. I was like, I will come up there and do that. Of course I will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, where is your hometown?
My hometown is Charlotte, North Carolina.
It is Charlotte. Okay.
It is Charlotte. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to tell a couple other things because when after Carowinds, I know that you moved to New York and Mike was up there with you and Steve Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a role on a soap opera that a lot of people know, Another World. How many years were you on Another World?
I was on Another World for a year and a half. Actually, the first thing that happened when I got to New York was I got my first Broadway show as my third audition.
No kidding.
And it was the Tony Award winning 42nd Street. And I was the third replacement into that Tony Award winning company. And I later got Michael, your brother, and Steve, and Vicki Taylor, and Elizabeth McCann. I got everybody in that show.
Yeah.
I took care of my friends. I always take care of my friends.
Hey,
and it was, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, that's what Southerners do, right?
That's what we do. You know, our friends are our family. And so when I was in the show, I started auditioning for television, and that's how I landed the role of Another World. Yeah.
And was it Nicole Love?
It was Nicole Love.
That's right. There we go.
She was the #1 top fashion model in the country. I was a little shocked they hired me, but I was real grateful. I was like, thank you.
Well, I remember Mike talking about it, and you had some fans in Chadburn, North Carolina. I'm going to tell you that. And my two best friends, Chris and Tommy, were big fans of yours. Now, somewhere along the way, you went on and you did Broadway in New York for how long were you in New York?
I lived in New York for 4.5 years, the first go round,
Mm-hmm.
because I went from 42nd Street into Another World. From Another World, I was hired by the only man to ever win the Oscar, Emmy, and the Tony, and I'm a protege of his, Mr. Bob Fosse. I went on to do the Tony Award-winning cast of Sweet Charity, the revival, and that's how I met my dear friend, Miss Debbie Allen, because Mr. Fosse made me her standby. And I got to go on for her. Yes. And that night, my whole life changed. So,
I bet.
Yeah.
And you and Debbie are good friends, and you've just been working on a project with her, right?
Yes, I've been working with Debbie for like the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got through, because of this pandemic, we can't have our kids in the academy for our summer intensive. So we literally just filmed, Greg, I'll be honest with you. It was like doing a one-woman Broadway show, because every time I would have to film 2-hour episodes back to back, it was me, myself, the crew. That's it. Someone running my music, and I got 1 10-minute break. And Faith Prince had come to me after she saw me do Chicago a couple of years ago when I played Roxy, and she goes, "I want to produce a one-woman show with you. You're amazing." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's Faith Prince. Are you kidding me?" I was like, okay. What do you say? No, thank you. I don't think so. That's a gift from God. And after we did all that filming, I would come home and sometimes just curl up in a ball and sleep for 2 hours. And I went, wow, now I know what it's like to just carry a show totally by yourself. It's pretty amazing, but it's going to be great because at least we can open it up to the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just going to be within the United States. So anyway,
that's awesome.
So we've been doing a bunch of things, and Debbie and I have been very, very close ever since we were together, and I'm very grateful, and I love her, and I'm so glad to be part of that family.
That's awesome. So I'm 1 degree away from Debbie Allen right now.
Yes, you are, honey, as she would say.
Well, I'm going to move forward a little bit to a spinoff of Dynasty and the Colbys.
Mm-hmm.
And you were one of the Colbys.
I was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. When I was doing Sweet Charity,
mm-hmm.
The vice president of Aaron Spelling's company happened to be in New York, and they were looking for this new character to play opposite Maxwell Caulfield, who played Miles Colby. And they saw me in the show. They brought me in. Long story short, they flew me out, and I did the audition, and they took me over to Mr. Spelling's office, which, by the way, is the size of Cleveland. Huge.
Yeah.
It's a good thing when you come from the theater because you're used to larger spaces, so it doesn't intimidate you. But he was the sweetest, kindest man. Yet again, another Southerner. I wish he was still alive. I wish he was, because you would love to talk to him. And I went into his office, and he was sitting over by his big, beautiful, windows. And there was a little table with a little lamp and a beautiful chair and a beautiful chair. And it was just us, sitting like that. And he read with me.
Really?
He did not have he read with me. He did not have his casting director read with me. And when I finished, he looked at me and he said, "Do you have any idea how amazingly talented you are?" And I just looked at him and said, "Thank you." And he goes, "No, you are. And I just want to welcome you to my family."
Wow. How cool.
And it changed my life.
Again.
And
is that one of those moments where you want to
go,
"Do you know who you are?"
Yes.
Yeah.
It was all I could do to not say that, you know? But I did, of course, at some point have that conversation with him because he was always so incredibly kind and gracious. And I know because my line producer used to tell me that Mr. Spelling and Mr. Heston, Mr. Charlton Heston, used to sit in dailies because none of us were allowed, you know, the actors are not supposed to be in there, but Charlton Heston's an Oscar winner. Hello, come on. And they would all be in there and they would sit there and talk about how I was one of the top, myself and Stephanie Beacham were the two best actresses they had on that show.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. I got to tell you, when somebody says that to you, it just, you go, huh?
Yeah. Me?
You go, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, because when I go to work, I put my mind on my work and that's where I go. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know you've done a lot. You've not stopped working, except I just found out as we were chatting before we started recording, is that you hurt yourself and you were not able to dance for a while.
I was doing a show, and you know, I never think of my own age because in my head I'm either 25 or 28. That's where I go. I'm not, right? It's like I don't acknowledge. My father taught me as a young child, age is but a number. I was like, okay, I know now why. But anyway, so I was dancing and I, you know, just assumed that I can still do a drop split in a 1 second count in a 3.5-inch pair of heels. And I tore my groin.
Ouch.
And I finished the number.
Hey.
I finished the number. Hey. and ended up, long story short, as I said to you briefly earlier, you know, I had 3 different doctors who told me that I would be able to teach, but I would never be able to perform again. And I said, you watch me. And it was a recovery, but there was something great that I learned for anyone that this might help in future. I did water therapy.
No kidding.
It was the greatest thing in the world because you can stretch and elongate and you're not fighting against gravity. You're just in the water. And it was I've turned so many. I teach my dancers, if you have a pool, if you have access to a pool, get in there and stretch because it's better for you. But anyway, I ended up, it took me over 6 months, but then I started to be able to go to ballet class and I just had to be gentle with it because that's what would kill me. And as I was saying to you, my beautiful little picture right here.
I was just getting ready to go there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that beautiful picture. So when I was on crutches, which I hated, big surprise, I had gone down pick up my dogs from the groomer, and I was with my daughter, and I saw this picture, and I started to cry, and she said to me, "Mommy, why are you crying?" And I said, because she goes, it looks like you. And I said, yeah, I know. And all I could hear were those doctors saying, you won't be able to dance again. And all I kept feeling in my heart was, yes, I will. Because you don't tell a Southern woman she can't do something.
That's right.
Honey, we will prove you wrong every time. I'm just saying. And so I bought myself that picture and it sits over my sofa because I love to look at it. And I can do that to this day.
Absolutely.
As I built my body back, once I got there and I could see my lines, you know, and that's why I'm so careful when I teach, and I teach at universities across the country and, you know, with Miss Allen's Academy. And, you know, I'm very big, and I train privately, and I'm just so big on teaching my kids how to protect their bodies and how to be kind to their bodies and how to hydrate. And everybody should know that. So always remember, hydrate, honey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people,
anyway, so that's what it is.
A lot of people think that painting is of you, right?
Yes, but it's not. Here, let me see. Where are you, baby? There you are. There she is. Yeah,
Yep.
it looks like me. It totally looks like me, but
It
it's
does.
not. But I just go, oh, okay, all right.
Sure, sure. Now we've gone over a lot of your resume, and I want to talk to you because here is a girl from Charlotte, North Carolina, who moves up to New York, and I want to know what that was like. Did you have a little bit of culture shock? Were people commenting on your accent? Your accent is, as far as I can tell, gone now. And then I want to talk about a couple of crossover that I experienced concerning you. But tell me about going to New York the first time.
Well, it was one of those decisions. I'll condense this for you as much as I can so that we can move forward. My mother happened to be watching the Tony Awards, and I was in my room working on something else in June of 1981. And 42nd Street came on, and they were doing Lullaby at Broadway. My mother called me into her room. She said, Kim, come here for a minute. I want you to see something. And I said, all right. So I went in and I sat down, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And she goes, you could do this show. You'd be great in this show, because I'm quite the tap dancer. And I said, well, that's good to know. Thanks, Mommy. I appreciate that. So it ended up that a few, like 2 or 3 of the people that I'd worked with from New York happened to contact me, and they went, hey, listen, David Merrick is having an audition for 42nd Street, like right after Labor Day. You should come up prior to Labor Day, and you should go to this audition. He wants beautiful women who can tap dance, and he's a real stickler about you have to be pretty. And I'm like, okay, I tap dance really well, but okay. And so one of our friends, you remember Austin Jeton?
Yes.
From our show.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and Miss Donna, right?
Miss Donna.
Our dance captain, Miss Donna. So I went in and I stayed on their couch in their apartment at 43rd and 9th. And I just started going out and auditioning. I mean, I came into Grand Central and I was like, oh my, this is awfully large. I guess I was Peggy Sawyer at that moment. Oh my. And how do I get down to this place? What's a taxi cab? Says the girl who drove sports cars her whole life. What's a cab?
So they don't have this. They don't have anything like this in Charlotte.
No. And so, long story short, first audition I hit, I got a job. Second one, I got a job. The third one was 42nd Street. And I went in, there were 450 girls. I went at 7:00 in the morning. I sat in the alley, which the alley into the theater is behind the Milford Plaza. So it contained the Milford Plaza, right? So if they're coming out dumping garbage, the Majestic Theater, the Royale Theater, it was like, you're just back there with the rats and whatnot. And I sat there from 7 in the morning, except for when we'd ask a friend in line, can you just like watch my place? I got to go to the ladies' room or get something to drink. I finally went in at 4:00 in the afternoon. I was in the last group of 10. And that's Southern tenacity, honey. You don't sit there and complain. You just keep making yourself pretty and make sure that when they call your name, you go and you take the stage.
Right.
And I went in and I was in that group of 10, and they made us dance one at a time so that you can hear the sounds, which is exactly what I do to people. I make people dance alone. You can't fudge that. And when I teach, I make them dance alone. You can't be pretending you're doing a time step and you're not even getting a shuffle, let alone a hop. And so I did it, and then they only kept 2 of us to sing. And I remember when I walked on that beautiful stage at the Majestic Theater onto 0, which is the dead center of the stage, and I looked down at the conductor, and he said, what are you going to sing? And I said, I'm going to sing Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. I like that song. I was cute doing that. And I also have this big, huge belt voice. And I just remember when he started to play, and I looked up into that gorgeous 1,800 seat theater with the red velvet seats, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know when I will ever get this chance again to stand on a Broadway stage by myself. I'm going to have fun. I sang the daylights out of it, right? I leave. They love me. Okay, bye. I'm like walking up, Broadway, going to the apartment. And I'm thinking, I've got this. I've got this. I've got this. Well, I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. In the meantime, I booked how many other jobs? I am now at the Club Benet in New Jersey doing Chicago, which they wanted me to play Velma, but felt like I was too young. Really? And so they had me stand by. Yeah, the girl was 14 years older than me. And I was doing Go to Hell Kitty, and I was doing Lipschitz. And we were in a final dress rehearsal. And all of a sudden, from the back of the theater comes the director, the choreographer, and the producer. And I see them coming towards me, and I'm thinking, oh, please don't fire me. Oh, I haven't done anything wrong. And they walk up and they go, Kim, can you come with us? And I was like, sure. So I leave the stage. They take me to the back of the theater. And I literally, I'm thinking, my heart's pounding. I don't know why they've called me there. And they went, David Merrick is on the phone in the production office. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been looking for you for 6 weeks. He would like to talk to you.
Wow.
And they took me back there, and I picked up the phone and said, hello. And he goes, is this Kim? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, Kim, this is David Merrick. Do you know that I've been looking you for the last 6 weeks? Are you aware that I have sent my production stage managers all over New York trying to find you? And I was like, no, sir,
I've been right here.
Thank you. He had sent the production stage managers down to Austin and Miss Donna's apartment.
No kidding.
That was the original address on my resume. And they buzzed the buzzer and talked to Austin. And Austin, that's how Austin said, she's doing Chicago at the Club Benet in New Jersey.
Yeah, Austin's on my Facebook.
Oh, we love Austin.
That's too funny. That is too funny.
And literally, I was out of that show in 4 days, and I started rehearsals on that Monday.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yep.
Now, you also got to know Mr. Bob Fosse.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What did you think of the show that was on this past season? Would you rather not say? Okay. Enough said. I had to ask because I've got friends that would kill me if I didn't ask. Okay.
I understand. I will simply say this.
Okay.
He is the man who soul-handedly changed my life and my career.
Mm-hmm.
He made me the director that I am, the choreographer that I am. He made me the actress that I am. And he shaped and molded me and loved me. And I am one of the last people he spoke to the day he died.
No kidding.
And a lot of people don't know this. So your audience is getting a chance to know this. And
wow.
I was getting on, I was leaving to fly to West Palm Beach to do a celebrity tennis tournament for Vitas Gerulaitis. And just as okay, for those of you who are younger, just deal with this. We had answering machines. We didn't have cell phones, honey. There was no such thing as a cell phone, as Miss Debbie Allen would say. And literally, and the phone was ringing, and I'm thinking, they had just called and said that my car was there to take me to the airport, and I had my luggage in my hand, and I thought, oh, I looked at the clock and I thought, oh, it's probably my daddy, because my daddy always called around that time. It was like 10, so it was like 1 o'clock is lunch hour on the East Coast for you guys. And something said, answer the phone. So I put the luggage down. I picked up the phone and I went, hello. And I hear Kimmy. And I went, Bobby. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I was about to walk out the door, you know, to go to this tennis tournament down in Palm Beach. Oh my God, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm in Washington. We're getting ready to open, you know, Sweet Charity, the national tour tonight. Da, da, da. I just called because I'm coming to LA on Monday to meet with Liza and Goldie, Liza Minnelli, Goldie Hawn. And I wanted to see if you could have dinner with me. He said, I'm going to be doing Chicago, the movie, and I want to put you in it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so there. Yes. I'm like, your table, the Beverly Hills Hotel? Yes. Okay. Just tell me what time. I'm there, honey. I'm there. I can't wait to see you. Please tell everybody in the cast I love them, and a big break leg. And, you know, I can't go into some other things that were said because he was very upset with me for not telling him that ABC had canceled our show.
Oh. So he had some choice words.
Well, yeah, because as he put it, there are certain people I would have never hired if I could have you. But that's all I'm going to say.
Well,
there's more. There's more in the book.
That the book.
Oh yes, I'm writing a book.
That's good. I can't wait. Yeah. Have you got a title for it yet?
Playing with it.
Playing with it. Well, I want to bring up something.
I'm going back and forth.
Because I know you got to get to some teaching here in just a little bit. But when I started doing this, I had some people in mind that I wanted to talk to, and you were one, and one was my cousin Bill Thompson, who's in Hallsborough, North Carolina. And like I said before, he said to tell you he still loves you. And then there was another lady that I wanted to talk to, and I know Steve Morgan's going to be watching, so say hey to Steve.
Hey, my Stevie, I love you, baby.
So I was interviewing this young lady that I've been a fan of for a few years now, and I watch her YouTube channel all the time, and I started to go into something, and I said, Greg, that is just stupid. Because she was talking about being a Southerner, and when she meets another Southerner, she latches onto them and they're friends for life. And I said, do you know? No, that would be stupid. I'm getting ready to ask you a stupid question. If you knew somebody, and how many people are from New York and live in LA? And I don't know if she said who, but I said, of course you don't know Kim Morgan Greene. And Julia Fowler said, she's going to be on my show next week.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you do know each other. That's pretty cool.
We met through a mutual best friend of ours.
No kidding. Well, I was like, okay, so we got a little circle there. Everybody seems to know everybody. But she was a fun interview, and I've been a fan of hers. And I was just amazed that, and I'm like, well, of course, you know. But she said that she knew of you when she lived in New York. Y'all didn't meet until you were in LA, but she said of course she knew the legendary Kim Morgan Greene from Broadway. She knew of you. Those were her words.
Oh, that's so sweet. I know. I always laugh. My daughter thinks it's the greatest thing in the world when she walks through Times Square with me and someone will scream, KMG! And they go, hey! And, good Lord, male dancers run and think that they're still 20 and they can lift me up. And I go, not on concrete! And they do it anyway. And then that, of course, became the drug for my daughter. I want to do this. Okay.
Oh, really? And her name is Morgan,
she's
right?
Fabulous. Yes, her name is Morgan Danielle DeFonso, and she's quite talented. And and the love of my life, my girl. Yeah.
I know. I like seeing you make posts about her on Facebook and such. So are you are you as hard on her as your other students, or worse?
Worse.
You're worse?
I'm just being honest.
Does the Southern mama come out in you when have you ever shout, sing out, baby?
Do you think? Are you kidding me? It's like, I will be like, what are you doing? you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do, and sometimes I'll get the just stop. So there's a push pull with us, but then she realizes the reason she is where she is and she knows what she knows is because literally she came up as a child when we started Fosse in Toronto before a year and a few months before we went to Broadway. She would sit in the chair in the room with the producers and Miss Anne Reinking and Miss Gwen Verdon and all of us divas, and she would mimic and do things. And she used to want to argue with me that she was going on stage, and I'd be like, you can't go on the stage. Yes, I can. I'm going to go on there and dance. I'm like, no, you can't.
Well, let me ask you this. When she started dancing and you knew, you were like, she's going to be a dancer. Was it, yay, she's going to be a dancer? Or was it, oh my God, she's going to be a dancer? Which one was it?
No, it was yay, because when we were doing Fosse in New York, I put her at Broadway Dance Center only because I believed that dance is such an incredible thing for children. It gives them confidence. It makes them start to understand their bodies, because sometimes their bodies can be, it depends on, I was tall and like this big around, and it helps you understand your placement and all that. It's a place of fun. It's a place of learning. I've done shows for the last 10 years, with not just professionals and stuff, but like with kids that range from like 6 to 11 and 11 to 16. And it's beautiful to watch them and how you have to shape them and talk to them. And, for me, it was very important. I was not surprised. I knew my mother, God rest her soul, told me when Morgan was 5.5 months old that my mother had her while I was working on something. And she said, honey, do you know that child sings? And I said, what? She goes, honey, she sings. She sings herself to sleep. And she said she has a beautiful voice. And she does. My daughter has an incredible head voice, and she has my belt voice.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, which you usually get one or the other, but you don't get both. And
that's tremendous.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one more thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, I was going to bring up Bob Fosse one more time, because you have really become, and I don't know what the word is, but when somebody wants to learn how to dance like Bob Fosse, you're one of the people they come to. Is that right? Or is that just my interpretation?
No. I'm the real deal, darling, because I was in the room with the man. And I don't mean just in a chorus situation, because I was Debbie's standby. I was allowed to be in that room with Mr. Fosse and Miss Allen and Miss Verdon. And Bob, I know all of those ins and outs, which is why I don't talk about other things. I share that wealth of information. It was like, sorry, I get a little emotional.
That's okay. One of the things go ahead.
The gift that he gave me, that he taught me, because he said this to me. I didn't finish when we were talking before about the last day I spoke to him before he died, before he had the massive heart attack. No, it's okay. I just want to finish because it's very important.
Go ahead.
When he was yelling at me, why didn't you tell me they canceled the show? I would have da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, you know what? I just don't ask for things. It's the Southerner in me. We're very prideful people. And we don't ask. It's very hard for us to reach out. And he goes, you should have called me, and I was like, stop screaming at me. And he's like, you know what? He goes, you have to ask him. You have to ask. Promise me that you will ask. And I went, okay, all right. And then the last thing that we said to each other was, I'll see you Monday night. I said, okay, you guys break a leg with the opening. He said, I love you. I said, I love you too. And then he passed hours later.
Well, Have you been keeping
It
that
is.
promise to ask?
Yes. And it's amazing what happens, guys, when you do get out of your own way and don't, as Southerners, this, Greg, we're very prideful. We believe that we have to take care of it ourselves. I don't want to bother you. You do what your mom and daddy tell you to do, or you're going to get backhanded. And it's, we are raised with respect and kindness and to have a giving heart. And it's very hard. It's very hard because you're taught to, and I think also too, because my daddy had 2 girls, mom and daddy had, 2 daughters, which was good for mama, but a daddy always wants a son. Well, he got us. and
I'm sure if you'd have asked him, he wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Not for anything, because he taught us to be strong and he taught us how to take care of ourselves. And I have taken and passed all of my knowledge and my raising and my grandparents, and I've given that to my daughter. So, she has all of that, which I'm very proud of, because she has one of the kindest, purest hearts I've seen since my mom. She is truly there's a purity there, and there is nothing I would ever trade for having grown up in the South. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because we are our own people.
We are, and I got to tell you,
we are this big, and we love you, and we will bring you in and make you some dinner and some iced tea. And baby, we'll get you a cocktail if you need it.
That's true. That's true. Bill's been quoted, and I like this. Now, Charlotte's the biggest city in North Carolina, but it still has a lot of small town in it. And Bill says, he was quoted as saying, when you're from a small town, you're from a small, how does he say it? When you're from a small town, people will love you whether you want them to or not.
And that's true. And they do. And it's simple kindness. It's simple kindness. It's like the wonderful man that has come into my life says to me all the time, I love to watch you with people, even when you deal with people on the phone, because you just have this very sweet, loving way of just making everything okay. And I said, well, because my father told me to calm that temper down a long time ago. It took a little while, because I am a Southern woman. And you will not mess with me.
Well, I was going to say there is a difference. I'm sure they weren't used to your ways in New York or in California, but they know they expect it now. They expect it now.
You know what?
And you
know what? The New Yorkers fell in love with me. They had a little hard time, but then they fell in love with me. California got a little more because I think they have more people here. Well, okay, I don't consider Texas Southern. Texas is Texas. But, they used to try to say to me, are you from Texas? I was like, no, darling. I'm from North Carolina. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, born and bred.
The Queen City.
So, but yes, the Queen City. Yes, exactly.
That's right. Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on here. I was very excited, and I'll be honest, a little nervous. But I'm like,
Lord
oh,
have
no,
mercy.
that's just another.
Or what?
I don't know. I'm still a big fan, Kim. I'm still a big fan.
Lord, as I always say, what you see is what you get.
Everybody.
I've cried.
Loves...
I have no clue what my makeup looks like. But I tell you what, I've had a great time. I will come back anytime. And everybody come back to this fabulous show.
Well,
all right.
Thank you.
We're here to share, and we're a special bunch. And you're all in my heart. And Greg, I love you. And thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And thank you for being on here.
This is for our Michael. Okay.
Okay. Now you're going to make me cry.
I know.
All right. Well, listen, sweetie, hang on just a second, and I'm going to tag us out of here, and we'll talk just for a brief minute, okay?
All right. You
thanks.
guys be blessed.
Well, folks, thanks for joining me on another episode of the Southern Greg Thompson Show. We've had a great time talking with Kim Morgan Greene, star of Broadway shows, television, and dance stages all across the globe. So anyway, she's been a fantastic guest. And if you want to follow Kim, you can follow her on Instagram at KMG1128. Once again, that's Instagram at KMG1128. She'd love for you to follow her, and you can see what she's up to lately. She's a ball of fun and a true Southern Belle / Steel Magnolia. But we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for joining me again, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, have a good day and bless your heart in the good way.